oh boy. Get excited, kids, because it is officially 3 p.m. Pacific time. And it's Tuesday. So that means it's time for the interactive live chat. So thanks for tuning in, everybody that's watching. Sort of a quick recap as far as what we were talking about last week into what we're going to talk about this week. We're going to talk a little bit about Dr. Sleep again. The homework for this week was to watch some Dr. Sleep because there was a bit of confusion last week, was to watch Dr. Sleep. We're going to talk about this other documentary that I mentioned last week called Out of Shadows. Hopefully you guys checked it out. You can watch it for free on YouTube. I put it in the chat. Obviously, there's the recent sort of drop that came out about these UFOs being disclosed. I'm going to talk about that even though this clip is a bit old. It's still worthy of mentioning now, especially, I think. And then my good buddy Paul Lee, we're going to talk about him because last week some people were asking about the poofy shirt that hangs behind me when we do this, and a bunch of other stuff. I'm going to teach you how to do some magic tricks. I'm going to show you some new magic and other things. So, yeah, so welcome to this week's live chat. I have a special guest host that I'm working with here this week. I'm not sure if there will be an appearance by this guest host or not, but you'll know when you see the guest host, or maybe you'll hear the guest host in the background. So yeah. Anyways, want to say hey to everybody in the chat for tuning in. I'm Shock Illusionist Dan Sperry, and this is the weekly live chat that I do every Tuesday. And as I said in the beginning, and as I say every time, if you don't mind, please go ahead, give the live video a like, give it a share, and I appreciate it. So I see so far what I can keep track of, at least in the chat. Thanks to everybody for tuning back in. I see some new names that I haven't seen before, and some familiar faces as well. So one thing about these live chats too that I've changed, those of you that follow me on YouTube, that I'm starting to upload them to YouTube as well. So if you happen to miss the live chat, you don't want to have to scroll through my Facebook page to try and see it. I'm actually also uploading them to YouTube. I haven't been recording the comments though, as they come through, and I should probably do that. That's the next thing that's going to be happening with the YouTube, because I understand, it's better to watch this and probably see the chat at the same time as I'm talking through it, etc. So I'm gonna start trying to do that, do like a side by side. So I've thought about it. I'm on it, definitely doing it. And also later after this, I'm gonna upload this week's story time. It's not up on my YouTube yet, but be sure to jump over to my YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube page, because I post all kinds of weird random stuff on there, pretty much just as much as I post on my Facebook perhaps. But yeah, go ahead and follow, subscribe to my YouTube. And on another side note, the reason that I'm not, or that I haven't even been posting as much, if you guys have seen on my Instagram story that I posted, I'm actually finally relocating the warehouse. So I've been really busy with that the past couple days, because I'm getting all the way out this week. So orders actually went out yesterday. Those of you that have been placing orders, they're on their way. And I'm also being sure to try and keep up with anything else, posting and interacting with you guys. But I've been slightly MIA with anything worthy because I've been busy doing that. So, but that'll end soon. Then we can get back to our regularly scheduled program of interacting online. Speaking of orders too, right now on my website, if you go to dansperrystore.com, I'm going to put it in the chat. I'm going to put the link in the chat right now. If you go to dansperrystore.com, there's a sale going on right now that I put on because there's new merch that I've been wanting to get made and put together, and that I've been kind of working on. So I'm kind of looking to do like a thing to sort of clear out some of the stock of some other things. And so if you spend $10, at least $10 in the store, you'll get 20% off automatically when you go to checkout. So minimum of $10 in the store, you'll get 20% off automatically when you go to checkout. So just going to try to do cycling out of some of the leftover merchandise that's been selling, and I'm gonna bring in some new stuff. So let's thin the herd and do a hard reset and a refresh. Also, speaking of stuff online, some of you guys have maybe seen. I know maybe some of you that are watching this have even inquired. And just to sort of answer the question, I've been doing and posted about these virtual show things. So just to be clear about that, the virtual show is basically a custom live interactive show, sort of like what we do here, but with other people. You can get your friends, your co-workers, and stuff like that in on watching and experiencing the show, where a lot of the magic actually goes right through the screen. We interact through the screen. It's a private link, so it's not like anybody can just jump on and watch it. So it's not like what we do here. Not anybody can just jump on and watch it, and it's exclusive for you viewers. So it's like having a personal magic show performed by me in your living room or in your office or wherever you're watching this, and your friends, virtual party, whatever the thing is. I've done a couple of these already, and they've actually been really fun. I still prefer performing live, that's for sure, because in my opinion, magic is something that's best seen and experienced live. But we're making it work, right? We're making it work. I also wanted to mention this week's coffee mug that we're using is from the MSP airport. Okay, hello. Yep, this is the coworker. This is my little girl Twinkle that I adopted from another magician who is getting rid of his doves, and she's a pretty smart little bird. So she's hanging out with me today, and so she'll be probably flying around because I just let her do whatever. But she's a very social dove, and so she may be jumping in and out of frame sometimes. But for now, I'm just going to put her on the back of my monitor, let her perch right there. She really likes my hair. She likes to sit on my head and on my shoulders and like nestle up in my hair. So maybe I'll try and get like a nice poofy nest thing happening, but leave a little bit more shoulder space so she can actually get something to perch on. And so we'll see if she has anything else to say or do about that throughout the course of the live chat. So moving on though. First thing that we're going to jump into, some of you guys, I know, I saw Chris, I saw you in the chat, and Donna, I saw you too. This was something that was sent to me by them. It's an old clip, and like I was saying, maybe, just maybe you guys have seen this already, have seen this before. Okay, don't show your ass on the camera. That's rude. That's rude. She. Okay, well, we'll let it go. So Twinkle wants you guys to, have a peek at what's going on with her tail. Okay, but this video, this drop that happened, it's a bit older, but big news in the disclosure sort of world. If you're into that sort of thing, the official drop of and confirmation of UFOs are okay. All right, Twinkle. Okay, UFOs are real. Let's turn you back around, dollface. There you go. Yeah, hilarious. It's hilarious. Now, can we just chill? Because you're covering. This is what everybody's here for. You can't cover this. It's what everybody's here for. So that now I lost my train of thought. So it's a video that's a bit older, but the government's been dropping it, and they confirmed today that, or maybe yesterday, depending on where you're watching this and where you're from, that the UFOs are real, and they dropped this video clip, and so we're gonna jump right into that video clip of are UFOs real, and let's get into it. So here you go. You might have seen this. I showed, excuse me, I showed a little clip of it in the beginning. I showed a little clip of it, just like a static image that was taken from this. And I think if my memory serves me right, this is what people kind of have been referring to as the Tic Tac UFO, because it's kind of Tic Tac shaped. You can see it right here. It's in basically, it almost looks like a TIE fighter from Star Wars, but what I understand is those two vertical lines on either side that are kind of bookending it, those are actually crosshairs within the actual Tic Tac, the little white dot in the center. That's what they have been focusing on, and that the pilots were watching as this was flying around. This clip first came out, I think it was a year or two ago, when they first started disclosing that stuff slowly. When they slowly started leaking it out a bit more and more, this was the clip. That was one of the first ones that came out. And supposedly this actually first came back from Tom DeLonge, of all people. Tom DeLonge. I don't know if you guys remember Tom DeLonge, but yeah, he has his To the Stars Academy, sort of side project, I guess you could say, that he has been doing for a long time and focuses on disclosure. And he's been, as it was proven, in contact with many different people within the government. Unfortunately, one of them was John Podesta, and those of you that have watched the live chat before know I'm not a big fan of John Podesta for various reasons, mostly having to do with stuff that rhymes with, almond sauce and hot dogs and, pizza and swirly triangles. But this is he was supposedly in contact with Tom DeLonge, and this is the video that was part of the leak, and supposedly Tom DeLonge was behind this. That's right, Kyle. Nobody really believed him for forever. They thought he's just weird or something, but it's true. And this is one of the things that first dropped and came out recently. So check this out. Watch this clip if you haven't seen it already.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude.
So that's just a quick clip where you can see some of the highlights of these various objects, these various UFO objects flying around. And there was one sort of explanation, I guess. Now, here's the thing. Those of you that are familiar with drones, if you fly drones, I don't fly drones. I don't know anything really about drones. I know they're kind of expensive, and I know that they can be even difficult to fly. Now, obviously, if this was a drone, we're not talking like, a consumer level drone or prosumer level drone. This would potentially be a drone that maybe was coming to spy from another country. I don't know. Or David, they targeting reticulars, right? They're not. Those verticals. Sorry, I'm just seeing your comment right now. Right, yeah, but they're not attached to the actual object. It looks like a TIE fighter, but they're not. Sorry if I didn't explain that right. It's actually the little dots is the object. The vertical things, I guess they're targeting reticles or whatever. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing it right. Right, that's to sort of lock in on it, I'm assuming is what that does. But like I said, going against the wind at 120 knots. I don't know what 120 knots is, but I imagine it's a lot of wind. They're going against the wind. Okay, thank you, Robbie. Yeah, you're looking at over 380 miles an hour against the wind, making these maneuvers. Like I said, I don't know. I don't fly drones, even a military drone. I don't know if there's any current or ex-military folks in the chat right now that could help clarify that. If these sort of tumble and spins and redirectional things are something that is easily done with drones of a professional and military caliber, obviously not something that is on a consumer or prosumer level. And one thing that I'm not sure about either is, can those, let's just say it could possibly be a consumer level or prosumer level drone, can they even fly at that altitude? I don't know. Not at that speed. Thank you, David. Yeah, not at that speed. Okay. So they can't fly at that speed. I don't even know about that altitude. Now, then, let's just say drones out of the way. By the way, I've never thought that the clips of this was a drone, even though I admit I know nothing about drones. I've never, excuse me, I've never believed that it was a drone, because when you watch the full clips and you listen to these pilots as they're talking about witnessing this, like that, you would think that they'd be able to immediately be like, "Oh, dude, it's a drone." Instead, if you listen to the whole clip, they're freaking out. They're going, "Oh my God, how is this possible? How are they making these turns? Look how fast he's going, dude!" You know, blah blah blah. Like, you know, these guys are clearly confused, surprised, uncertain, caught off guard, that sort of thing, and they don't know what they're looking at. Obviously, you would again assume that if you're in any kind of military position, you would not, or you would be able to tell that it's a drone right off the bat. You would have had enough experience around witnessing these drones fly around and maneuver, that sort of thing. So I certainly don't believe it's a drone. Now, next question comes into play of, well, what is it then? Is it?
They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude.
I mean, look at that. So is that man-made? Is that something that we made, that comes from one of our guys? Is that maybe one of the things that Bob Lazar had talked about? Is that maybe one of the things that he called the Sportster model? Could that be the little zippity Sportster model?
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west.
Doug,
Look at that thing, dude.
I see you. I see you in the chat, Doug. I see what you're saying, and I agree. And I was going to say that. Those of you that know the Dark Knight satellite, you know that maybe, I was going to say, that shape almost resembles sort of the rough outline of the Dark Knight satellite. Those of you that aren't familiar with the Dark Knight satellite, I'm going to pull that up. I'm going to pull that up right now, one of the better images that I have here of it. So it has this almost weird blade. So it looks like you guys can hear me now. We're all good, right? Okay, that was super weird, eh? I don't know what just happened there. My laptop is plugged in. I'm not running any other programs. I'm on an Alienware, for crying out loud. Yeah, that was weird. That was weird. Of course, you know, right as we're like, you know, growing in viewers, all of a sudden, you know, we start talking about the UFO stuff and the Black Knight satellite, and boop, you know, and then it goes out. Wonderful. I'm not saying, I'm not starting to put my tinfoil hat on. I think that clearly could have just been a typical weird, you know, interruption. I don't know. But anyways, getting back to what we were talking about with that clip of the pill, whatever shape UFO, I believe it was, I think it was Doug saying it looked like the Black Knight, and it did. And those of you guys that don't know what the Black Knight satellite looks like, this is the Black Knight satellite. Kind of has that blade look, like I was saying. It kind of has a blade shape to it. It's and that's why they call it the Black Knight satellite. Maybe we'll talk about that next week. You know what? I'm gonna make a note for next week. Black Knight satellite. So that's what it looks like. So there is that one clip in the in the leaked video clip where, when it's between those two uprights, again, forgive me, I forget what they're called again, those two uprights that focus on, and I'm probably even mispronouncing it. That there was a moment in one of the clips where it definitely looks like it could be the Black Knight satellite. Let's go over here. The Black Knight satellite. It looks like it could be shaped like that. It has just that weird, I guess, blade shape. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are, but in my opinion, that's not a drone. That's all I know for sure. Not a drone. What's up, Twinkle? Not a drone. and definitely something else, not a plane, nothing like that. So and like I was saying as well, very interesting and weird that Tom DeLonge's group were the ones that decided to release that. This week's live chat coffee mug, by the way, like I said, Minnesota, you betcha. MSP Airport, you betcha. Delicious. So, okay, sometimes the sensor packages on these aircraft have problems with small object. It confuses the identification software, but I'm not sure of the military hardware. Does anybody know, also in the chat, does anybody know that, like when it's between those things, does anybody know, like, say, with like this image, for example, when it's in between those crosshairs, and because I'm not a pilot, I'm not a military pilot, obviously, what if that can give any idea of size? I don't know if because I don't know what these numbers mean or anything, but can they give any information as to how big that dot is that's in between those crosshairs? Like, here's a bigger image, for example. I just don't know what any of these numbers mean, you know. So I'd be curious if that can give any sort of size idea of how large this aircraft or UFO, whatever it is, actually is. I'd be really curious to see if it can have some sort of estimation as to how large that is. So very, very interesting stuff though coming out. I think it's just part of. I think we're gonna see the real disclosure sort of stuff happening in our lifetime. In my opinion, they're getting more loose. They're getting more lax about it. They're putting it in more shows. They're putting it in more movies. They're putting it out on television now, on the internet and stuff like that. But I definitely think we're getting there. It's becoming a thing. Now, moving on to something that was brought up last week. It was brought up last week as somebody mentioned about the poofy shirt behind me. This poofy shirt right here. It looks like the Seinfeld poofy shirt. It's not. It's not the poofy shirt from Seinfeld. It's actually a shirt that belonged to a buddy of mine who was a magician in Chicago, and he was someone who was a really cool guy. He was someone that worked all the time on the local scene throughout Chicago and the Chicagoland area. His name was Paul Lee. And when you guys hear me say, when I say magic show, that actually is a callback to Paul. I adapted it because what Paul used to do when he'd answer his phone, he'd say magic show, because he actually had like this really raspy voice. It sort of sounded like Krusty the Clown mixed with Bob Bell and Wrinkles the Clown. If you guys remember us talking about the Wrinkles the Clown documentary, Wrinkles had kind of that, that sort of voice. He sounds like, basically sounds like Wrinkles the Clown combined with Krusty the Clown and Bob Bell playing Bozo. And so Paul was a great magician, someone who was busy all the time. He did everything from birthday parties to all sorts of different types of gatherings and shows. See, there goes Twinkle again. And this is a picture of Paul doing a trick that he loved to do. It's called Wasser und Zeitung, or water and newspaper. And I started putting it back in my show as a tribute to Paul. And explaining how I came up with saying magic show. And he's a really great guy. And I brought with some clips. I brought with a couple clips so you guys can see how Paul would perform. He wore a tailcoat and he wore the poofy shirt. And a few years ago, Paul passed away. And I ended up getting a pair of pants and one of his shirts. And actually had one of his jackets at one time. I gave him one of my jackets. And it's just having a friend in magic like that, or in any business, it's good to have friends within your industry that you can share time with and stuff. So these are some clips of Paul performing with the poofy shirt. This is one of his old demo videos. You can see it how old it is because it's got that iMovie, it's got that iMovie sort of look going on to it, right? Everybody remembers the iMovie custom templates and transitions and all that stuff, right? So that I have one of those poofy shirts that Paul's wearing in this clip. You know, classic magician, classic look, classic illusions, classic style. You know, girl gets in the box, swords go in the box, right? And then girl's gone, all that stuff. He also had a duck. He had a whole menagerie. You know, doves, parrots, a duck. He had a little dog and all of that. Man, he was awesome. So that's sort of the backstory of Paul and why I say magic show, because when he'd answer his phone, he would say magic show. And some of us that were friends with Paul in Chicago slowly started making the joke about how we would answer his phone and just say magic show. And then I started doing it in my kids' shows. Instead of saying like abracadabra or ta-da or whatever, I would say magic show, like that, just as it started as a joke, and then it ended up staying and it stuck. And that's why I started saying it, and that's where it's from. It's actually a callback and a shout out to my buddy Paul, like I said, who passed away. Paul passed away way too young, and unfortunately I was on the road performing with a show when Paul was getting more sick and more ill, and I wanted to be able to fly back to Chicago to be there for the memorial and everything like that, and I have a little bit of animosity because the show I toured with at the time, even though I was under contract, we were in a country that I did not want to be in. Not because I'm anything like that, but because it was definitely dangerous for us to be there. Like, ISIS was like 50 miles away. We could see the mountain, like the hill where ISIS was. We were very close. It was not a comfortable gig to do. And it was also during that time that Paul, like I said, was getting more sick, and then he passed away when I was on the road with this show, and I wanted to be able to fly back to pay my respects for the memorial, and unfortunately I was not allowed or able to do that because they threatened to sue me. I shouldn't have listened, looking back. But so as a memorial to that, like I was saying, one of his favorite tricks was this Wasser und Zeitung, and I started putting it back in the shows. I did it in my kid's show. Paul taught me his. It's a old classic trick. Like you saw his costume, very classic magician with the shirt. And so I put it back in my show, in my full show. Instead of just for the kid shows, I put it back in my real like full touring show. I just did it last year in Germany, and his favorite band is AC/DC, and I did it to this cover, this acoustic cover of Thunderstruck by AC/DC, and so I wanted to just sort of bring that back up because as the sort of, like I was saying, giving respect to Paul, talking about the poofy shirt, I wanted to tell that story. So that's the story of why I say magic show, why I have Paul's shirt, which also perfectly transitions us into me sharing with you guys this week's new magic premiere. So get excited! It's new magic premiere time. So in order to actually show this, I got to stand up. I'm sorry, Twinkle. I have to adjust. I have to adjust her perch. Yeah, hilarious. It's so silly. Adjust her perch that she's sitting on. I'm gonna put her on top of the banner. Go sit up there. No, you don't want to. You just want to be silly. Go have a sit. Go have a sit. All right, perfect. So I'm gonna try to redo my presentation of Water und Zeitung for you guys that I did as my tribute to Paul, with a little bit of some music from this is a guy, his name's Luca Strinoli. I'm probably saying his name wrong. He does all these really great, like almost flamenco acoustic covers of like rock and roll and metal songs and stuff. Look him up on YouTube. Luca Strignoli, like Gnoli. Very, very talented guitar player. So this was the song that I used in that live show, live touring homage to Paul, and this is sort of how it went. So I hope you guys like it for New Magic, for this week's New Magic premiere. It's just simple bit of newspaper. This newspaper has seen better days. I had to steal it from the Doves, actually. So big shout out to the Doves for letting me borrow some of this newspaper. Just a simple piece of newspaper, a couple pages, a little bit of liquid. Magic show! So thanks guys for letting me show that to you and do this week's New Magic premiere as a little shout out and homage to Paul. I hope you guys liked it. That's my version of his Water und Zeitung, or water in the newspaper. So I hope you guys like that. Thanks for watching that and putting up with it for a minute. So that's the history of why I say magic show, where it came from. It actually came from Paul, and this is something that I put back in my show. It's just a quick little fun water in the newspaper. Water disappears, newspaper is completely dry. Water comes back out of the newspaper into the glass, or well, that's a flute, I guess, champagne flute, and newspaper is still dry again. So that's that was Paul's favorite. Well, maybe not his favorite, but one that he was really known for. And so that one is a shout out and a little homage, like I said, to my buddy Paul. So now, speaking of magic and magic tricks, now that I've shown you sort of like the new magic presentation, this also leads us into the next subject that I know everybody always loves and gets excited for. That means it's time for Teach a Trick time. So get excited! So for this week's Teach a Trick, again, I'm going to have to move a couple things. I need my little table here to show you guys what we're doing. It's a card trick. Very easy card trick. I'm just going to tilt my screen down a little bit. Again, this is an easy magic trick that you guys can do. All you have to do is go get a deck of cards. I'm going to not have the... hang on. I'm not going to have the lower third. Let me just see. Let me just see if this will block it, which I think it will. Yeah, you're not going to be able to see anything. Sorry. I'll put that back up later. So this is the trick. It uses an ordinary deck of cards. Get your deck. Any deck will do, but I recommend the Dan Sperry in Matorum deck that you can get on my shop, dansperrystore.com. Twinkle's getting a bit jealous that I'm giving you guys more attention. But you can get this at dansperrystore.com, and like I said, there's the sale going on right now where if you spend at least $10, you'll get 20% off your order. So you can get some decks of these cards printed by the U.S. Playing Card Company. And so this is the trick. Very easy trick. First, I'm going to show it to you. Then I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay? So, the cards, right? You take the cards out of the box. This box is falling apart, so this is not my... sometimes it works better with a newer deck. So you got the deck. The box you show is empty. Not sure if the light is catching that, but you guys can see. Empty box. Empty card box, right? You close up the empty card box. You can put it in somebody's hand so they can hold on to it. Or you can place it on the table. But I'm not sure if you can hear. If you listen, empty card box, right? Empty. I'll show you one more time. You can still see. Empty, nothing inside. Empty box. Nothing inside. You can have somebody hold it. Doesn't matter. We'll just put this. I don't want to go out of frame. So I'll put it here. Put it here. Deck of cards. Like I said, this is my Inventorum deck with my logo on the back. And all the cards are different. As you can see, they're all different, right? I'm just going to give them a quick shuffle. Mix them up. Now, we're going to cut the deck somewhere in the middle. Or since nobody else is here, you have somebody else cut the deck somewhere in the middle. That looks about the middle. You're going to mark where you cut the deck right there in the middle. Now, remember, somebody's been holding the card box. The card box is empty. Nothing inside. We're going to get back to that in a minute. The card box is the safest place for the deck. This is where the deck feels at home. It's almost like their home for the deck. It's almost like their house, their clubhouse, their tree house, their home, whatever you want to call it. This is where the deck likes to live. And that'll make sense in a moment. So somewhere in the middle, we cut to one random card. We cut to the Jack of Hearts, right? We cut to the Jack of Hearts. That's the card that the person selects. Now, I'm not going to do it here because I'm in a small room, but you make the card disappear. In this case, what I would do is if I was at a bar or something like that or outside, I would tear up the card and throw it in a bonfire or something. Burn it up, something like that. The card, or you could, like I said, you could throw it in the fire. In this case, I'm just going to throw it away so it disappears. It disappears and it goes actually inside. Remember the empty box? It actually reappears back inside the card box. Jack of Hearts, the empty card box, Jack of Hearts. Bingo! Boom! Magic show! So, this is how it works. This is super easy. Like, probably one of the easier tricks that I've ever taught how to do on this show. So, I'm going to bring this up and we'll sit back down because then I'll tell you exactly how to do it. It's very simple. So, like I said, you need to get a deck of cards. Doesn't matter what deck of cards you have. Doesn't matter what the deck looks like. And you're going to actually need another deck of cards. Or at least a duplicate. So that means you need more than one. So in this case, we're going to use the Jack of Hearts because that's the one I showed you. So you need to get... Essentially, you need to get a Jack of Hearts and another Jack of Hearts. So you have two Jack of Hearts. Make sure one is from the same deck that you're using. That's important. Okay, so the first Jack of Hearts, you're going to place on top of the deck like this. Okay, and nobody knows it's there. Don't let anybody see that the Jack of Hearts is on the top of the deck because that's the card that you're going to have the people you're showing this to pick, and you want them to think that they're getting a free choice, even though they're not. So, first step, get your regular deck of cards. Pick out whatever card you want to use. In this case, we're using the Jack of Hearts. Go to another deck of cards and get a matching card from that deck. Now, this matching card, the duplicate, does not have to have the same back as the one you're going to use. The one that appears in the box, the back of the card doesn't matter, okay? Hopefully this is making sense. Then, so this Jack of Hearts, the one that you took from the first deck, boop, that stays on top of the deck. We'll get back to that in a second. The duplicate Jack that you get from another deck of cards, the reason I said it doesn't matter what the back looks like is because you're actually going to take one of these. This is like a shipping label, like an address label sheet. You're going to peel one of these off and stick it to the back of the duplicate. Okay, so it looks white. Okay, so you stick it on the back, or, I mean, you could paint it, I guess, if you want, but, I mean, a label works fine, or if you have some paint, you get some, little acrylic paint or whatever, paint it on. You'll also notice, I'm going to hold it up really close here. So you place the sticker on, you cut around, you trim around, the duplicate card. This bottom half, I took a scissors and I clipped it. It's maybe going to be a little bit easier to see how this has rounded corners down here. So I cut around the corners. This top part, I cut it a little bit shorter. That's because this is secretly in the box the whole time. And the reason it has the white paper on it is so that when you show the box like this, it looks like you're just showing the empty box. And you use your fingers to hide. It looks like you're sort of opening the box to show it empty. You're using your fingers to hide that there's actually a card right here. Okay? So this stays inside, you show it empty, and it looks like just the top part of the box, right? Hello, Twinkle. So you show it like it's the top part of the box. Now, when you bring it back to yourself and close the lid, what you're going to do is you're going to let this fall down. You're going to push this down so that shows the Jack of Hearts. You're going to close the lid on top. So this tab is actually going to go inside and on top of the Jack now that it's actually sticking out. See what I mean? So that's what you're going to do. So when the deck is inside, the reason it's cut short is so that it's easier for it to stay behind, because you don't want it to accidentally come out with the rest of the cards when you, yes dear, when you I'll put her back up there, when you pull the cards out. So just a quick recap again. Remember, here we have the first Jack of Hearts, right? This is the one with the same back. This one goes on top. The duplicate is in the box with the paper on it, okay? I put it face down on the same side that has the flap, all right? So now the deck goes inside the box on top of that card. And because it's shorter, I'm not sure if you can see that seam, because it's shorter, that's going to help you keep it inside. This hello, Twinkle, are you helping? This flap is also going to hide that Jack, just in case they see it. But when you show this to people, when you take the cards out, you're actually going to go like this and pull the cards out, using your fingertips here to keep the Jack from coming out. So you're basically sticking it, putting pressure on the sides, so so it stays in the box, right? You set the deck down. You show that the box is empty. You get this card in place, so you push the Jack down, so now it's showing. Close the lid. Put it in somebody's hands, and because you squeeze the sides, you can shake it, and they won't hear anything because you're squeezing the card, so it won't move around in there, okay? So you have that. You set it down, you set it aside, you put it in between someone's hands. Now, when you shuffle, you're just going to pull cards off the bottom into a pile into your hand. And when you're done, just keep them on the bottom, because remember, the duplicate card is on top. You have someone cut the deck wherever they want, somewhere in the middle, right? Now, when you set this aside, again, if you remember, we had talked about this, I can't remember if it was last week or the week before. Twinkle, get your toe off the camera lens. We talked about this the week before when they scoot over. So the Jack of Hearts is on top. This is like the crisscross force or the cross-cut force. It's like the easiest, like this is Card Magic 101. You have the Jack here, okay? Then you're going to have somebody cut the deck. They cut it anywhere they want. They set it on the table. You mark where they cut it in the middle by turning the remainder of the packet that's on the table and placing it on top. But you place it at an angle like this. That's why they call it the crisscross or the crosscut. Distract them for a minute. Mention the box. Remember, the box is empty. Nothing was inside. Hold on to it or keep your eye on it if nobody's holding it. We'll get back to that in a minute. Now let's see what card you landed at. So now when you do this, you cut to somewhere in the middle. As you say this, psychologically, they're going to think that this is the middle of the deck, which it's not. It's still the card on the top of the deck. Still the Jack of Hearts, okay? They look at it. Now, like I said, this is where I would tear it up, set it on fire, throw it in an ashtray, destroy it, make it disappear, whatever. Flush it down the toilet. Throw it in the garbage. I don't care. This card disappears or gets destroyed, and then it reappears afterwards. It reappears inside the box when you have them lift up their hands, hand you the box back. That's where you now can open the box and actually show the Jack of Hearts is back in the box. Now I hold it with at my fingertips like this because you might be able to see that it looks fishy. It looks like it was trimmed down over here. So that's why I always kind of, when the way it comes out, you should be able to easily grab it and hold it like this and sort of hide that it's trimmed down and the corners are not as round. So yeah, so there you go. That's this week's Teach a Trick time. So remember to keep practicing. Don't tell anybody how to do it, and also make sure that nobody sees the back of the card. When it comes out and you're holding it up, make sure they don't see the back. Otherwise, it's all over. It's all over at that point. So don't do that. Yeah. So that's this week's Teach a Trick. I hope you like it, I guess. Yeah. So that's the Teach a Trick. But now that Teach a Trick time is over, it's also everybody's favorite time of that maybe wasn't everybody's favorite thing in school, but we try and make this fun in the Dan Sperry live chat, and that is homework. I know. So this week's homework, if you remember, every week we do something where together I like to suggest something to watch, usually a documentary or something like that. Last week we were talking about things like Wrinkles the Clown and other sort of documentaries that are similar over the week. We talked about Bob Lazar, a little bit about Dr. Sleep, and also recommended and asked that you guys check out. And I understand some of these get a little weird, but also check out the documentary Out of Shadows. That's actually free right now on YouTube. It talks about a lot of very important things, in my opinion, that I truly believe are real. Again, this might turn into maybe you guys think I'm a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist or something like that, but the very basic level, first tier involvement that I have with the entertainment industry, I can 100% believe that everything that was mentioned in Out of Shadows is true and is happening. And the reason I also wanted to mention Dr. Sleep is because it's very symbolic. I think there's symbolism in Dr. Sleep that they're trying to tell us about, that they're trying to reveal, that they're trying to get the word out about these Luciferian satanic rituals that are happening to kids and the programming. And like I've been saying for the past couple of weeks, this whole adrenochrome thing, I mean, just I think it's symbolism that they're trying to put out there for us to see, for us to sort of try and become aware of, and to start digging deeper and reading more about. So like I was saying, Dr. Sleep, really great movie. I was very surprised by Dr. Sleep and how well it was done. I was a big fan, and still am a big fan, of the Kubrick movie or adaptation, I guess you could say, of The Shining. I love what he did with it, especially in comparison to the book. I thought it was brilliant and very smart. And then just the way it was put together, it ended up being a better movie than I expected. I'm a fan of Dr. Sleep. I have to put it out there. I'm a fan of Dr. Sleep. Out of Shadows, on the other hand, that is the one that is very, very interesting. It starts out with like where it's a bit of a religious topic. You know, it seems like it's going to be religious, but in the end, it's not. It's not like or at least I did not take it that way, as like an attempt at converting with religion and stuff like that. I believe it was just him trying to really get the word out. It was put together, this documentary, Out of Shadows, it was put together by a guy that was a stunt coordinator. He was the top stunt man, played Batman, did all this stuff. And he started really becoming aware of the bizarre, weird, very dark, and very evil side of entertainment, and in particular, Hollywood. And those that are in heavy and high positions, and basically pedowood is essentially kind of what it is. And it's really terrible. And I know I can see I'm dropping viewers, I can tell, but I don't care. I totally believe in this. I know it's happening. You can't change my mind because I know it's happening, everywhere, unfortunately. But the way and the reason behind why these kids are being kidnapped. They're disappearing from places, and where are they going? Where do they go? How do they just disappear? Yeah, Doug, exactly. Out of Shadows is very dark. You got to be prepared to watch it, and you have to watch it with an open mind, really. But if you really take a second and really observe and actually start looking things up and actually start seeing how things connect from Hollywood into politics into sports and music and other celebrities, why do you think all these celebrities own chains of islands? This isn't just Epstein that owned an island in the Bahamas. There's a chain of a bunch of these celebrities that all have islands very close to each other. And if you start following this stuff and you see these celebrities, it's not just like, any celebrity that's in this sort of group and area of islands that sort of go down into the Bahamas. There's, it's not just anybody. It's not random. It's not just happenstance that's where their islands happen to be. If you really look into it, if you really start following stuff and read the clues, follow the money, you're gonna see this stuff is very mind-blowing, and you'll probably be up all night. It goes right down the line with the Pizzagate stuff, like I was saying at the beginning. Podesta, what a creep. All that stuff, all of it comes down, everything gets connected, A, B, and C. Exactly, David. Monsters attract monsters, and they're all in on it, and I know it's happening, 100% real. And so that's the basic aspect of the point that I wanted to get across with Out of Shadows. It is a dark documentary. It's going to be tough to watch, but if you can watch Must Love Cats or whatever the hell that piece of garbage was called, you can make it through Out of Shadows. Now, remember, Must Love Cats or whatever that stupid Luca Magnotta thing was, that was real. That guy existed, and it happened. Now, if he could do something like that, and he's just a nobody living in a piece of garbage studio apartment in Montreal or wherever it was, think about what those that are in the real power positions are doing, can get away with, why they're all connected. I mean, it's like they live. I've been following and watching this stuff for a long time, reading it, researching it. I've had friends and known people that have been directly affected because of this stuff, and it getting covered up because of it. And so that's how I know. Like, I'm not just assuming, that's how I know. I've been around enough people in entertainment at all positions, spent way too much time than I care to, around these people that, want to control, and they want to, it's just not, even though I haven't been at that level, even on the very basic level, you can see if people want control and to manipulate people, especially, for power and for all this, if it's happening at like this, already, it's happening. It's definitely happening, and so that's also the connection, with the Out of Shadows. It's very symbolic, I believe, of what they're doing. I think they're trying to tell us something, and there's this universal law that exists where you must admit, you must show who you are. You have to say what you're doing. You have to show what you're doing. And if there's no opposition, then you are allowed to continue, right? And that's why they hide this stuff in the media, in movies, in Super Bowl halftime shows and stuff like that. It's not an accident. It's not coincidental that they're doing these sort of things and hiding these things in there. It's because they have to if they want to keep going, right? So and I'll just leave it at that, because I don't want to get too crazy and weird people out too much. But that's why I love Dr. Sleep, and that's why I think they're trying to tell us something. And it's like I was saying, it's like they live. We put the glasses on, take them up. We're seeing it very different. As soon as you start reading it and opening and being open to the possibility. I know it sounds crazy. But there's a lot of trafficking, especially with children, that's going on, and it needs to come out. We need to be aware of it, because, like I said, not cool. And Doctor Sleep, again, just getting back to Doctor Sleep, I think they're trying to tell us something with it, and something that also connects all this together, and all of this in a lot of ways that I was thinking about, is the sleep paralysis subject that I wanted to talk about. The sleep paralysis. So I suffer from sleep paralysis, and here's my story of sleep paralysis, right? So, when I was younger, right? Like, we're talking like early high school age, right? We're talking early high school age. I was into and very fascinated by and wanting to learn about and learn more about things that are more occulty, I guess. What power does that have? What does that mean? Is it real, or is it all just goofballness or whatever? And I started getting really into it. Now, I went and saw Sylvia Browne, right? I don't know if you guys remember Sylvia Browne, but I went and saw Sylvia Browne. And I realized when I saw her live, oh my God, this lady's full of it. Like, I can't say what my normal vocabulary is because Facebook will take this down and all that. But I realized she was full of it. She wasn't doing real stuff. She's not really talking to dead people. She's not really giving true. She's not really giving true readings. She's not leading people to their lost loved ones. It's all cold reading, and sometimes poorly done cold reading, right? And I started having this realization, and I had this real like aha moment, like, oh, you're just basically doing really crappy mind reading magic tricks that anybody could learn from a book, Exactly, David. James Randi. Just watch anything that James Randi does, right? And so, but now that doesn't mean that I don't believe that there is a good versus evil in a very spiritual and otherwise sense. I do believe there is. And it was that night that I first experienced sleep paralysis. And I would get it nightly, every night, without question, at 3 a.m. every night. Now, as I got older, it would be touch and go, but I still get it. And I actually got it the other night. One of the most terrifying things ever. I don't know if any of you guys got sleep paralysis. Drop it in the chat. Let me know. And if you guys have never experienced sleep paralysis, it is really, really terrifying. Now, one of the theories about sleep paralysis, and I call it theory because I think nobody really knows what it is. That's my opinion. But as they say, one of the things is sleep paralysis is like lucid dreaming, right? It's something similar where your body is asleep, but your mind wakes up, and there's something in your brain that shuts off your body from truly, flailing around if you're having a dream. Otherwise, you'd be punching holes in walls and knocking down your desk lamp or something, And so, Doug, Sylvia Browne predicted in 2017-ish pandemic to happen in 2020. Yep. So and where did she say the pandemic started? In a wooden area near water? Yeah, I mean, I could say anything, and we could try and connect the dots, and anybody can just say stuff. That doesn't mean that I think she knew what she was talking about. I think she's totally full of it. I think she believed herself too. I think she got to the point where she actually believed she had this ability and etc. And that's why I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I might be Minnesota nice, but I don't buy it. And so. Wait, what year did she die? Was she even alive in 2017? Now that I think about it, didn't she die in like 2015 or something? When did Sylvia Browne die? Can somebody look that up? I don't even remember. But that's what they say sleep paralysis is. I think it's definitely some sort of very bizarre, subconscious, spiritual thing. I don't know what you guys think. I think it definitely has something to do with us being able to maybe leave or transcend into other things or places. I don't know, but that's something that I experienced, and I would always get it when I'm sleeping on my back because I'm a back sleeper, right? I've always been a back sleeper, and I remember I started getting this, and I would always get it when I slept on my back. So weird, so weird, and then I stopped getting it for a while, became less frequent, but I just had it the other night, and it was the first time in a long time. Totally freaked me out. So if any of you guys, like I said, have ever had sleep paralysis or have a very interesting story about sleep paralysis, let me know. Either shoot me an email, info@dansperry.com, or drop it in a chat comment, and or message me about it, because I love to hear other stories of what other people experienced over the years of them having sleep paralysis as well. Now, still being on the subject of homework, that leads us to this week's homework, which we're going to go in the exact opposite direction, because I know with times still being kind of like what they are, it's a very, I know I kind of went in a little bit of a dip. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of came into a dip where I started kind of getting depressed and really unmotivated and just kind of feeling down, and I had to wake myself up and snap myself out of it. And I actually, that's nothing new. For a long time, I've actually had, not a long time, I'd say it really started developing a number of years ago, probably about 5 years ago, having a sense of depression. I never really had that before, but I started going in and out of depression, and more frequently as of a few years ago. And I you always look for something to help dig you out of it. And if I could recommend one thing that helps me a lot, it's a very fascinating documentary. Again, this is another documentary, new homework documentary for next week, and it's a really great never give up sort of story. And it's about this guy, and he's from Wisconsin, and all he wants to do is make this movie. And you guys have probably heard me talk about it many times before. It's called American Movie. One of my favorite movies, really, of all time. And so I'm gonna show you the trailer right now. Check this out. This is the homework for next week. This is American Movie.
That was wicked, man.
His whole life is making this one film.
You have 2 hours tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and be an extra in a film.
You get your name on the credits, man, as a producer.
And of course, there'll be a whole crowd of people here, so we got to make like a line where people can't go. Have a hell of a lot of assistant directors saying, hey, could you step back like 5 feet? I think my mom's gonna have to end up going out in the woods.
I have my shopping to do.
Okay, you gotta spread apart that way. All of the extras have just fell through, except for Mike Schenk right there.
We used to do a lot of partying together, but I don't party anymore.
Hey, Mike, make sure everyone has brown gloves.
Does everyone have brown gloves?
No, dude. I'm broke, man. I gotta get gas tomorrow. And dude's talking about making a feature film.
The name of the film is Coven.
Coven.
Coven, that's the proper pronunciation.
No, coven sounds like oven, man, and that's just, it doesn't work.
She wants to be in your film, Bill.
Oh my gosh.
You get your $3 grand back. It's the first line of the film, man. It's gotta be on the money.
It's all right.
Okay, I believe we can do this.
Shot 37 here where my head goes through the cupboard. Every time we got together, there was something that seemed to go wrong.
Oh, dude. I'm sorry I tried to put your head in this.
Take 30. Cut.
Take
You gotta
30,
watch your
I love
teeth,
it.
too, because they clack a little bit when they loosen up in the mouth.
Oh, now I see there's a flame there.
Oh, no. What are you talking about, Ma? Check it out when you look at the scarecrows. You get it? Within weeks, the film will be cut, finished for multiple sales. What do you think about that?
Multiple sales to who?
We get to see Americans and American dreams, and you won't walk away depressed after seeing this. This whole thing is turning into a theatrical mockery. Do you understand that, Mike?
No.
Well, you will. Would you buy this movie for $14.95?
Hell yeah, man.
If I can find 3,000 people like you across this country, man, I'm in business.
So that's American Movie. Truly one of my favorite movies ever. I got to give a shout out to my buddy Steve Chazadeh back in Chicago, who like 15 years ago introduced me to this movie, and I watch it all the time. I watch it if I'm feeling down. It's a great pick you up movie. If you're not feeling down, it's still a great pick you up movie. Really, damn it, Twinkle, about never giving up And so the synopsis is this. It's this dude who loves making independent movies. He loves making horror movies in particular. And he wants to make this epic horror movie that he's been working on. He starts casting it. He starts going into it. And then he realizes he doesn't have enough money to make this movie because he has a paper route and he cleans up at the cemetery. Like, so he was like, how am I going to pay for this? So he has to then go back, and he started this other movie about 5 years prior that he never finished. He has all the old footage for it and everything. So he needs to go to his old uncle to get him to sort of be the investor in the new movie, the first movie that has to be made, called Coven, whatever people want to say. And then that movie gets made to fund the full movie that he wants to make, that he calls Northwestern. That's the movie he wants to make, is Northwestern. But first, he has to make Coven first, and it's all these total Wisconsin rednecky types outside of Milwaukee drinking beer and just acting goofy and trying to make this movie happen. In the end, it happens. That's all I'm gonna say. But there's some great, really, really great things that happen throughout the course of this documentary that are certainly worth watching, and definitely are a really great feel-good, pick-me-up sort of movie, and I highly recommend it. Now, if that's not if that's something you don't want to watch or whatever, there is a musician that I've been listening a lot to lately as well, and maybe you guys have heard me mention him before, maybe you've seen me post about him before. It's this Australian VJ music mixer. He goes by the name Pogo. Look him up on YouTube. He's got so many albums. He's really amazing. Pogo is a great, amazing composer, and he pulls these organic sounds. He pulls organic sounds out of movies or TV shows. He does a lot with Disney, and he pulls these organic sounds out and puts them together and loops them and makes incredible music tracks. And I brought one that I'm going to play a little clip of that you can sort of get a taste, an idea for what he's doing. This song is actually called Red Rum, since we had talked about Dr. Sleep and Shining and stuff earlier. I thought this would be a great one to show. It's also one of my favorites, not just because one of my favorites is The Shining, but this is Pogo's Red Rum.
So stay out. You understand? Stay out.
Come and play with us, Daddy.
So that's just a brief clip of Pogo. I really recommend checking out all of his albums and stuff. My favorite album of his is actually called Kindred Shadow. He's got some great tracks on there. So I like to listen to Pogo. He helps really kind of lift me up a lot. It's great background noise, especially when I'm working on stuff, working in the warehouse or filling orders or whatever. Just having it on the background, it really sort of, I don't know, it just kind of lifts me up and brightens my day, I guess. So so be sure to check out Pogo, the musician, and you can find him on YouTube. Really great stuff. Highly recommended. So that's the homework. We'll talk about Pogo some more next week. We'll also talk about American Movie next week. We've already gone way over time than I wanted to because got to get some stuff done today. So, and I know some of you guys watching over in Europe and all that, it's late, past your bedtime. So thanks again for tuning in this week. Much appreciated. Herzlichen Dank. Ich heiße Dan Sperry. Ich bin Illusionist, anti-conjuror. Be sure to watch my YouTube later today for this week's Anti-Conjuror story time. That's about to launch on that. And follow me on Instagram. I'm deleting my TikTok. I'm completely against TikTok right now and forever. So I had TikTok for a little bit. Don't even bother trying to find me on there. I'm deleting my TikTok account. I'm closing that because I don't trust TikTok. I don't think they're up to any. I don't think they're up to any good. Not that any of those programs are up to any good, but I'm not a fan of TikTok. Some stuff that I've been following about what they've been up to behind the scenes is not my cup of tea. So, don't forget, sale at dansperrystore.com. 20% off right now if you spend at least $10 or more. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week. And that's about it. All right. Herzlichen Dank. Ich liebe alles. We'll see you guys next week. I was Shock Illusionist, Dan Sperry, the anti-conjuror. Gute Nacht. And don't forget to research and take a look at who owns those islands and why they're all connected.